قل يا ربي
زدني علما،
زدني فقها،
زدني حكما،
اتبع قولك عملا يبني
يجبر ذلك
عثرة أمة.
قل يا ربي زدني علما.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه واتبع هداه ثم أما بعد. It's a pleasure and honor to be back here at UC Davis with the MSA. It's always great to be here and see all of you and participate with you guys in the various events. Thanks for having us as your guests today. Today we have a special treat. We have my good friend Sheikh Mohammad Najeeb, who is a specialist in the Quran and the recitation of the Quran and the various modes of recitation. And he's here visiting from the Islamic University of Medina. And he'll be here for the next week. So inshallah we'll be at Masjid An-Nur on Friday night between Maghrib and Isha in Sacramento. And we'll be at the Davis Masjid on Saturday night between Maghrib and Isha. And we'll be in Brentwood on Sunday night, inshallah. The topics for Friday night are, the first topic is the history of the compilation of the Quran. That's on Friday. On Saturday, the miracles of the various modes of qira'at, the different recitation and how they're used in tafsir. And on Sunday in Brentwood, it'll be how do you know the Quran is from Allah. So alhamdulillah, we have a nice setup and lineup of lectures coming up, so we hope to see everyone, and please let people know. Today, we've been asked to come and speak about the virtues of the beginning of these days that we're in today, the first 10 days of the Hijjah. But before we begin, inshallah, we'll begin with a recitation of the Quran by Sheikh Mohammad, and then I'll begin speaking about some of the virtues of the days that we're in.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي.
MashaAllah, was a very beautiful recitation. May Allah bless him and reward him. So inshallah we'll begin by speaking about the 10 days of the Hijjah as a reminder for myself and for all of you to take advantage of these blessed days. And then inshallah at the end, after this talk, we'll have a chance to have Q&A where you can ask myself and Sheikh Mohammad anything you'd like about the lecture or otherwise, especially if you have questions about the Quran. Sheikh Mohammed's here and we can answer those inshallah. So to begin, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to witness these upcoming days, these blessed 10 days, the first 10 days of the Hijjah. And know, dear brothers and sisters, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation, but He made some of His creation higher in rank and more virtuous than other parts of His creation. وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He's the one who creates, and He chooses from amongst His creation to elevate above others from His creation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens, and He chose the seventh heaven to make it the best of heavens and to place His throne above it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the angels, and He chose from them Jibreel and Mikael and so on. And He chose Jibreel to be the angel of revelation and so on and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses who He wills from His creation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created time and place. Allah created the days and the years and the months. So from the years and the months, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the month of Ramadan to be the best of months. And from the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the 10 nights, the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the last 10 nights to be the most virtuous of nights. And He chose the night of Qadr, Laylatul Qadr, to be the best of nights. And similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose the first 10 days of the Hijjah that we're in right now, starting today, the first 10 days of the Hijjah to be the best 10 days of the year. And He chose Eid al-Adha, the day, Yawm al-Nahr, al-Hajj al-Akbar, the day of Eid that's coming up, inshallah, on the 1st of September, to be the best day of the year. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates, and He chooses from His creation whom He will elevate above others and what He will elevate above others. And similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created all of mankind, and He chose from all of mankind the prophets, and He chose from amongst the prophets the messengers, and He chose from amongst the messengers the 5 top messengers, Ulul Azm al-Khams, and He chose from the top 5 His 2 Khalils, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ibrahim alayhi salam. And He chose from His 2 Khalils, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be the best of creation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates from His creation whom He wills. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes certain times and places more virtuous than other times and places. And He does this to give us an opportunity to reach our maximum potential in worshipping Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and have our sins forgiven, to increase our deeds, and to compete with those people who came before us who had long lives. So we know in the Quran that the story of Nuh alayhi salam, how many years he gave da'wah. Hundreds of years he gave da'wah. And however, our lifespans are much shorter than previous nations. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A'maru ummati ma bayna 60 wa 70." The average lifespan of my nation is between 60 and 70 years. The Prophet ﷺ passed away at 63.
Abu Bakr passed away at 63. Uthman also passed away at 63. The average lifespan of the Muslims is between 60 and 70. Obviously, that doesn't mean some people will live longer and some people will live less. Imam Shafi'i died in his 50s. Imam Nawawi died in his 40s. Doesn't mean people are going to live more or less, but the average is between 60 and 70. So how is it fair that people who lived hundreds of years in the previous nations, who worshipped Allah for hundreds of years, they obviously have many more good deeds and hasanat, right? So they'll have a better chance of getting to the higher levels of Jannah? Well, no, not necessarily. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us times that actions during them are multiplied so much that we will be the ones with the greatest deeds on the Day of Judgment and have the best shot at being in the highest level of Jannah, inshallah. So from these days, dear brothers and sisters, are these blessed days, the first 10 days of the Hijjah. These days start today, and we'll go to September 1st, which is the day of Eid, and the 31st, Thursday the 31st, will be the day of Arafah, and we'll talk about that, inshallah. And then after Eid, after September 1st, so September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th will be Ayyam al-Tashriq, and we'll be talking about those days, inshallah. These are the best days, dear brothers and sisters. أعظم الأيام عند الله أيام العشر. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best days, أعظم أيام الدنيا أيام العشر. The best days in the world are the 10 days of the Hijjah. The best days in the world. All year, these are the best days. The Prophet ﷺ told us that this is the best time to worship Allah. ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيهن أحب إلى الله تعالى من أيام عشر ذي الحجة. There are no days that are better to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in than these 10 days of the Hijjah. قِيلَ وَلَا الْجِهَادُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. They asked the Prophet, what about even in jihad in the sake of Allah? He said, قال ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله إلا رجل ويجوز في اللغة أن أقول إلا رجلا إلا رجل خرج بنفسه وماله فلم يرجع من ذلك بشيء. He said the only exception is a man who goes out in the path of Allah and loses his life and his wealth fighting in the path of Allah. Besides this scenario, any other deed you do in any time of the year is not going to be as good as you doing it now. Now, in these 10 days, dear brothers and sisters, these 10 days are the best days of the year. A believer, the smart person, will not let these precious days go by and treat them like any other day. He'll just treat them like any other day and let them go by. That's not the smart person. That's not the person who wants to capitalize and optimize his time. That if you want the best way to worship Allah and the best time and get the most deeds, these 10 days. And we'll talk about what we can do from good deeds, inshallah, to maximize our time. These days, dear brothers and sisters, these best days are the best days for a reason. As Imam Ibn Hajar, he mentions. He said, this is the best time. Why? Because all the ummahat al-ibadat, all the main acts of worship occur in these times. This is the only time of the year where all 5 pillars of Islam occur. So in these 10 days of the Hijjah, obviously we have Tawheed, right? We have the Tawheed. When people go to Hajj, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, they're calling out the Tawheed. And we have prayer. We have fasting. We'll talk about the virtue of fasting in these 10 days. We have these charity. You can give charity during these time days and give your zakat. But this is also the only time where there's Hajj. So we have these 10 days are the only 10 days where we have all the main acts of worship, all the 5 pillars of Islam present. And that's why these are the best days of the year, dear brothers and sisters. These days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by them and mentions them in the Quran to show us the importance of these days and to draw our attention to these days and to make sure we maximize our time during these days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by them, like the Shaykh mentioned. He said, وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. Allah says, He swears by dawn and the 10 nights. Ibn Abbas and Ibn Zubayr and the scholars, they said that the 10 nights here are referring to the 10 days of the Hijjah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by the 10 days of the Hijjah. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by something, it is to show you its grandeur and its importance and to draw your attention to them. Don't let these days go by. Allah swearing by something, pay attention and wake up. This must be important. I must be called to be doing something special during this time. It is to maximize your worship and drawing closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls them the appointed days. وَيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. And they remember the name of Allah in the appointed days. The scholars like Imam Shafi'i and the mashhur, the famous opinion from Imam Ahmad, is that the appointed days are the 10 days of the Hijjah here in the verse. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us and legislates for us and tells us this is the time to do dhikr of Allah. and we'll talk about that. Dhikr is one of the greatest acts of worship you can do in these 10 days. So Allah mentions these days. And Allah also mentions it, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. Allah mentions the witness and the witnessed. The witnessed here, mashhud, is the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, is the day of Arafah, is the day of Arafah, and the day of Arafah is from the days of the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, and we're going to talk about the virtue of the day of Arafah. And when we said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions the day of Arafah and the day of Eid, He mentions them in the Quran. He says, وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. Ash-shafa is the dual and the single. The dual, ash-shafa here is referring to the day of Eid. And al-watr is referring to the day of Arafah. The day of Arafah. And all these days, the days of Arafah and the day of Eid, are in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. So Allah swears by either some of these days or all of these days in different portions of the Quran. And the Prophet ﷺ mentions the great virtue of these days. Dear brothers and sisters, these days are not like any other days. And they have many virtues. From the virtues of these days, like we mentioned, is the day of Arafah. The day of Arafah, dear brothers and sisters, is, as we said, is going to be on Thursday the 31st. And the day of Arafah, do not let this day go by without fasting this day. If you're not going to fast the 9 days of Dhul Hijjah, we're going to talk about some of the great acts of worship you can do. But first we want to talk about the day of Arafah, because from the blessings and the virtues of these days of Dhul Hijjah is the day of Arafah. If you're only going to worship Allah in one day during these 10 days, make it this Thursday. Well, not tomorrow, but the Thursday after. So that Thursday, the day of Arafah, 1 week from tomorrow, the 31st, August 31st, fast on that day. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned many virtues. The day of Arafah, first of all, is the day that Allah completed this religion. The Jews, they came to Umar ibn Khattab and they said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, آية في كتابكم تقرؤونها لو علينا معشر اليهود نزلت لاتخذنا ذلك اليوم عيدا. He said, oh, leader of the believers, the Jews are saying to Umar ibn Khattab, there's a verse in your book that you recite. If it were revealed upon us, the Jews, we would have taken that day that it was revealed as a day of celebration. He said, أي آية, which verse? He said, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. He said, today I have completed the religion for you and perfected my favor upon you, and I'm pleased with Islam as your religion. So the day of Islam, the religion of Islam was completed on the day of Arafah. And also on the day of Arafah, dear brothers and sisters, is the day out of the year which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees the most people from the hellfire. Frees the most people from the hellfire. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ما من يوم أكثر من أن يعتق الله فيه عبدا من النار من يوم عرفة. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there is no other day where Allah frees more people, decides to free and decrees to free more people from the hellfire than the day of Arafah. And this is not just for those who made Hajj standing on Arafah. It's for all the ummah, everyone who's a Muslim on Arafah. As Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, he mentions, he says, Imam Ibn Rajab, he said, this is general, this is am, for those who are actually standing on Arafah and those who aren't. And that's why the next day is Eid for us. The next day, which is the first, is Eid. Why? Why does the whole ummah celebrate? Because we're celebrating, inshallah, being free from the hellfire. That's why we have Eid al-Adha, the next day. So that day is a day where Allah frees the most people from the hellfires. And this is a day that if you fast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive 2 years of your sins. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, صيام يوم عرفة أحتسب على الله أن يكفر السنة التي قبله والتي بعده. He said that fasting on the day of Arafah, I hope that Allah will forgive the sins of your previous year and the year to come. So 2 years of sins forgiven with 1 day of fasting. 1 day of fasting. So the smart person is not going to let such an opportunity go, right? When we hear of all these sales and these deals, then we rush, right? We rush to Macy's, we rush to this sale, this and this, that. My wife is the kind of person who will rush to any sale if she'll save 50 cents on it. Even if she'll save 50 cents, she'll rush to any sale and make us go. So imagine if you're having a sale, get 1 day, 2 years free. 1 day, 2 years of sins gone. Right? Buy one, get one free. No. Buy 1 day of fasting, get 2 years of sins gone. That's an amazing deal. That's an amazing deal. And the intelligent Muslim is not someone who's going to let this day go by. So make sure, dear brothers and sisters, that you fast on this day, Thursday, the 31st of August, the day of Arafah. And also, dear brothers and sisters, if you have a dua to make, you really want your dua to be accepted, make it on the day of Arafah. The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرُ الدُّعَاءِ دُعَاءُ عَرَفَةِ. He said the best dua is the day of Arafah, to make dua on Arafah. And also, this is general, for those standing on Arafah from the pilgrims, and those who are in other places, fil amsar, in other countries, the Muslimin. Anyone around the world, this is the best time to make dua. And the Prophet ﷺ said, أفضل الدعاء دعاء عرفة وخير ما قلت أنا والنبيون من قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. The Prophet ﷺ said, the best dua is the dua of Arafah, and the best dua to make is لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. This is the best dua to make on that day as well. So the day of Arafah, dear brothers and sisters, has many virtues and many blessings. Like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swore by it. Allah says, وَالْفَجْرِ وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ. Al-Watr, the dual on the single. Al-Watr here is referring to the day of Arafah, and the Shafa is referring to the day of Eid. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also swears by it. He says, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ, the witness and the witnessed. Mashhud here, the witnessed, is the day of Arafah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by Arafah in more than one place in the Quran. And when Allah swears by something, then this is something important. Also, dear brothers and sisters, from the virtue of the 10 days is that in the 10 days we have the 10th, which is the day of Eid. The day of Eid. يوم الحج الأكبر. يوم الحج الأكبر, the day of the greater Hajj. ويوم النحر, the day of sacrifice. Right? Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Adha, the ulama, they said, the Prophet ﷺ said, that the best day is the Eid al-Adha ثم يوم القر, the day after it. The best day is the day of Eid al-Adha, the best day of the year. And the ulama, they differed. Is the best day of the year the day of Eid al-Adha or the day of Arafah, the day before? And they differed. Some said the day of Eid al-Adha is the best day of the year, and some said Yom Arafah, the day of Arafah, is the best day of the year. Either way, both days are in the 10 days of the Hijjah, which makes one of the reasons why it's the best days of the year. And on this day, dear brothers and sisters, it's called Yom al-Nahr, the day of sacrifice. It's because that's the day when we sacrifice the Udhiyah, whereas our subcontinent brothers and sisters call it the Qurbani. The Qurbani. So the Udhiyah, or aka the Qurbani, that's when we sacrifice the Udhiyah on that day. So that's called Yom al-Nahr, the day of sacrifice. And it's also called Yom al-Hajj al-Akbar, the day of the greater Hajj. Why? Because most of the rites of Hajj are done on that day. That day you throw the stones of Al-Aqaba, and you sacrifice, and you shave your hair, and so on. So most of the rites are done on that day, on the day of Hajj, on the day of Eid al-Adha. And also, dear brothers and sisters, this day and the day before it and the 3 days after it are Eid for us Muslims. They are the days of celebration. This is the day where we are proud of our identity as Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ said, يوم عرفة ويوم النحر وأيام التشريق عيدنا أهل الإسلام. The Prophet ﷺ said the day of Arafah and the day of Eid al-Adha and the 3 days after it, the days of Tashriq, are our holidays, the people of Islam. So these are our days of celebration. These are our days to have fun. These are our days to be happy and proud and be joyful. As the Prophet ﷺ said, أيام التشريق أيام أكل وشرب وذكر لله. The days of Tashriq, the 3 days after Eid, are days of eating and drinking and remembrance of Allah. So these are days are for us to be joyous, dear brothers and sisters. This is where the Muslims come out and they show their numbers and they show their colors. They come out and show the world that we're here. The Prophet ordered all of us to come out and pray Hajj, pray Eid prayer. Even the menstruating woman, he ordered her to come out, but to stay away from the salah during the musalla, just during prayer. But all of us come out. He ordered all men and women, young and old, all of them to come out to witness the Eid. Why? This is the day we show our numbers. We all come out and show the world that we are here, we are the Muslimin. This is what unites us. This day, we all celebrate that same day to the same Lord. No matter where you're from, no matter your food spicy or mild, no matter what the colors of your clothes, your styles, your culture, your tongues, we're all united. We all come out and we stand side by side on the day of Eid al-Adha. So this day, dear brothers and sisters, is a day of our identity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore, that's why He prevented us and told us not to celebrate the other days, of holiday of the non-Muslims, the other holidays. Because the holidays are from the identity of a people. And this is our identity, dear brothers and sisters. So, dear brothers and sisters, these 10 days, like we said, are great, very virtuous. Allah mentions them in the Quran and swears by them. And these are the best 10 days of the year you can do actions. And we have the day of Arafah and the day of Eid. what are some of the things that we can do? And if we know that these are the best 10 days, what can we do? First of all, like the Prophet said, he said, "No, ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيهن." There are no days where actions in general, any deeds are better. So anything. People think acts of worship are just prayer and fasting and zakat. No. Any good deed, enjoining the good, forbidding the evil, being good to your neighbor, obeying your parents, be good to your parents, doing charity, feeding the poor, smiling in the face of your brother, so on. Any act of worship, community service, giving dawah, teaching people the religion, we hope inshallah by seeking knowledge today and giving knowledge today, that this is from the best acts of worship we can do in these 10 days, these virtuous 10 days, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiply our reward here today. So any act of worship, but there are some things I want to mention particularly that you should do, but any act of worship you can think of, you should be doing it. Number one, dear brothers and sisters, the dhikr of Allah. Remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially the takbir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like we said, وَيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. They remember the name of Allah in the appointed days. This is the best time. Allah, the Prophet told us to make plentiful our dhikr. فَأَكْثِرُوا فِيهِنَّ مِنَ التَّهْلِيلِ وَالتَّكْبِيرِ وَالتَّحْمِيدِ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, make plentiful during these days, saying La ilaha illallah and Allahu Akbar and Alhamdulillah. And this was the sunnah of the Sahaba. That كان Ibn Umar wa Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhuma, that the Sahaba, Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah, they used to يخرجان إلى السوق, they would go out to the marketplace, فيكبران فيكبر الناس بتكبيرهما, that they would go out to make takbir out loud, Allahu Akbar, during these 10 days, Allahu Akbar, and the people in the marketplace would hear it, and they'd be reminded, and they'd also make takbir out loud, Allahu Akbar. This is a forgotten sunnah, that anywhere you go out to make takbir. When you're in your car, you're crossing the street, you're waiting in line at the DMV, don't waste your time. Do dhikr. Do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the best time to make dhikr. Allah tells us that this is a time of dhikr, and the Sahaba used to make dhikr during this time, and the Prophet ﷺ used to order us to make plentiful dhikr. Keep your tongue always moist with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during these days. And the takbir in particular are of two types during these days. We have unrestricted takbir, and we have restricted takbir. The unrestricted takbir is what I was telling you that Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah would do. That they go around all day day and night, throughout the 10 days, just making dhikr. Takbir, Allahu Akbar, anytime, anywhere. Right? But we have a restricted takbir, which is the takbirs that we do after the prayers, right? You guys obviously know about this, right? When does this start? Is it starting the whole 10 days? No. It starts after Fajr prayer on the day of Arafah. And it ends after Asr prayer after the last 3 days of Tashriq. The 3 days after Eid, they're called Ayyam al-Tashriq. That's when we're doing the restricted takbir. After each prayer in congregation. And then after that we don't do it anymore. So the unrestricted takbir, the unrestricted takbir begins after the day of Arafah, until the last day of the Asr on the last day of Tashriq also, except we don't do it after the Eid prayer. So we do it after the regular prayers, but not the Eid prayer. So this is the dhikr, dear brothers and sisters. Also, one of the greatest things you can do during this time is fast. The Prophet ﷺ, in the hadith, some of his wives, they said the Prophet ﷺ would fast the 9 days of the Hijjah. Now, when we say the 10 days of the Hijjah, we'll talk about the 9 days because we know we can't fast on the day of Eid. Now, Aisha, she said, I never saw the Prophet ﷺ fasting the 9 days of the Hijjah. So we have two hadiths that seem to contradict. So how do we interpret them? Well, the thing is, we know the Prophet ﷺ, he would spend a different night with each of his wives. So Aisha would see him maybe 1 or 2 days out of the 9. And so the Prophet ﷺ maybe would fast 7 or 8 days, and she only saw him 1 day. And so his other wives would say he fasted the other days, and she only saw him 1 day. So this doesn't mean that the Prophet ﷺ didn't fast. Rather, she didn't see him fasting when he was with her, but he was fasting on other days. So fasting in general is a very great act of worship during these days, especially dear brothers and sisters, especially the day of Arafah, like we mentioned. Now, the restricted takbir, starting from the Fajr on the day of Arafah, is for us, those who haven't made Hajj. As for those who are in Hajj, when do they start? They start after the Dhuhr prayer on the day of Eid. Because before that, they're busy with the Talbiyah.
right? They're busy with labbaik Allahumma labbaik saying that. So they start their unrestricted takbir, their restricted takbir after the dhuhr prayer on the day of Eid. But we start on after Fajr prayer on the day of Arafah, and we continue, like I said, to the last day of the days of Tashriq with the Asr prayer. Maghrib, no, we don't. We stop. Khalas. No, we don't do it on at the Maghrib of the third day. Does that make sense? So that's one of the greatest acts of worship, like we said, dhikr, fasting. And some people always ask, well, I have some days to make up for Ramadan. Do I make those up? Do I do the obligatory fasts, or I do the sunnah fast of the 10 days? What about Arafah? So we say, the majority of the scholars, the three madhabs, the Shafi'i, the Hanafi, the Maliki, they say you can pray sunnah, you can fast sunnah fasts before making up your obligatory. And the Hanbali said, no, you can't. You have to make up your obligatory ones first before you do your sunnah. So if you're going to do a Hanbali, make up your obligatory fast during these days. So you get the reward of both. Right? You do your obligatory, get them out of the way, and you're doing them the best time to do them. Right? But don't do it on the day of Arafah. Arafah, you need intention just for Arafah. So don't do the obligatory just for Arafah. And if you want to take the majority opinion where you want to fast your obligatory ones later, maybe during the winter when the days are shorter, and you want to just do the sunnah fast during these 10 days, if you want to take that opinion, that's fine too, inshallah. So that's also another thing you can do, right? Dhikr, fasting. Another great thing you can do is the udhiyah, the qurbani, like I mentioned. And this is one of the greatest acts of worship that you can do. And if you intend to do it, and it's actually not that expensive, dear. Like we spend a lot of money when we go buy, clothes or food, or we spend hundreds of dollars and on shopping spree. And when it comes to this great act of worship of feeding the poor, giving them meat, then we're like, oh, it's too much. And I know places where you can do a sheep for maybe $300 or something. And if you want to go in with a group of people with a cow or a camel, you can up to 7 people. You can split it 7 ways. Up with a cow or a camel, inshallah. And so for those who want to do it, we get this question, can I cut my nails and my hair, right? We always get this question if I'm going to slaughter. Then with the Hanbalis, they said if you're going to do that, you cannot cut your hair and nails. And the Shafi'is and the Malikis, they say it's makruh, it's disliked only to cut your hair and your nails. And the Hanafis say it's fine, even if you're going to slaughter, you can cut your hair and nails, no problem. So if you want to stay on the safe side and not cut your hair and nails, that's fine. And the slaughtering one animal is sufficient for a whole household. So say one person slaughters with the intention of the reward going to all of their household, right? The wife and the kids, or if the wife is doing it, the woman's doing it for her kids and her husband, whatever. That one person can slaughter for the whole household, then the reward reaches to all of them, inshallah. And if you don't think there's any poor people here, you want to do it, if you go on Islamic Relief and these kind of websites, they do it for you. And you can do tawqeel. You can give someone power of attorney to do it on your behalf. And they can spread the meat somewhere where people need it. And it's really one of the greatest things you can do. If you want to just give charity once a year, $300 one time, or I'm sure you can find it cheaper too. I'm sure you could. But from when I did it, I know in Modesto there's a person who does it. Well, every time I do it, it's like $300. But I'm sure you can find cheaper if it's too much. And there's also certain rules. I don't know. I'm only mentioning this because we're in farm country, right in Davis, farmland. So I'm sure people slaughter here, but. Whereas no one's going to slaughter them, I'm just wasting my time. But the thing is, here, if you're going to slaughter, there's also ages, right? For a camel, it has to be at least 5 years. And for a cow, it has to be at least 2 years. And for a sheep, we have goat and lamb. A lamb has to be at least 6 months, and a goat has to be at least 1 year. And it has to be free of physical defects and so on. It can't be blind, and I don't want to go into all these things, but it has to be. And the fatter, right? The more meat it has, the fatter, the healthier, the better. And then after that, the more expensive, the better. And this is one of the and actually it's obligatory in the Hanafi madhab, by the way. For those Hanafis, it's obligatory for you to do it. And the other madhabs, it's just a very recommended sunnah. And the Hanafi madhab, it's obligatory actually. So actually, you see those people actually do it in America are always the Hanafis. If you go to Modesto or there's no Arabs there. It's all the subcontinent brothers and sisters who are Hanafi. MashaAllah, may Allah reward them reviving the sunnah. But because it's obligatory in their madhab, they're the only ones that do it. I don't know why the Arabs they don't do it. We got to step it up, yeah. But khair, inshallah. So these are some really great acts of worship: dhikr, fasting, doing the udhiyah. And so I don't know how much time I have, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But inshallah, these are some great things we can do. But like I said, any act of worship, any good deed, do it in these 10 days. Read Quran, recite Quran, try to finish the Quran in 10 days, in 9 days. Finish the Quran, right? Plan it out, your Quran.
Pray some night prayers. Get up once, pray 2 rak'ahs. Just start with 2 rak'ahs. After Isha, pray 2 rak'ahs night prayer, Qiyam al-Layl. Pray 2 rak'ahs, right? Give some charity. Even if give $1, give someone here, someone there. Do something extra. Don't treat these days like any other day of the year. Do something extra that you know that you were different. You tried to be better in these 10 days. These are the best days to better yourself. Some people, they get really excited in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Well, these are the best 10 days of the year. Just like you were going all out, right, in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, go all out in these 10 days. Go all out in these 10 days. And so, some people said, which are better, right? The ulama, they differ. Which are better? The 10 days of the Hijjah or the 10 nights of Ramadan, the last 10 nights of Ramadan? So some scholars said, this, some scholars said that. And Ibn Taymiyyah, I think he gave a very nice way, he combined between the two. And he said, the best days of the year are the first 10 days of the Hijjah. And the best nights of the year are the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Because the first 10 days of the Hijjah has the day of Eid and day of Arafah. And the 10 nights, the last 10 nights of Ramadan has the night of Qadr. So I think that's a very nice way to combine these opinions. So inshallah, I apologize for taking too much of your time. We'll end here. I hope it was a beneficial reminder for myself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds during these days and forgive our sins in these days. And by the way, just as good deeds are multiplied in these blessed days, sins are also multiplied in these days. So just as you want to be encouraged to do good deeds, also stay away from sins during these days. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah reward you. Kul amantum bi khair. Wa salli Allahumma wa sallim wa barak ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So inshallah, we have some time for Q&A, any questions you have in general. If you have questions about Quran, I'll direct it to my good friend Sheikh Mohammad. Any other question, I'm sure we can also direct it to Sheikh Mohammad. So I'm, the ignorant person like me shouldn't speak when our Sheikh is here. So we'll let Sheikh Mohammad speak, inshallah, and I'll translate for him. Yes, there's a question?
Yeah, you said for the day of Arafah, you asked it's 2 years of forgiveness. Is that 1 year previous and 1 year?
Yes. He said, the Prophet said, صِيَامُ يَوْمِ عَرَفَةَ أَحْتَسِبُ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَنْ يُكَفِّرَ السَّنَةَ الَّتِي قَبْلَهُ وَالَّتِي بَعْدَهُ. Before and after. Yeah. Any other question? His question here first, yeah.
You talked about the restricted takbir. What is that exactly?
So restricted takbir is, you recognize sometimes around Hajj time during Eid and Arafah, people are doing takbir together after prayers, right? That's called the restricted takbir, meaning restricted to right after prayers. So from the Fajr on the day, from Fajr of the day of Arafah until Asr on the third day after Eid, after every Jama'ah prayer, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, in congregation we do the takbir out loud at least one time, and 3 times is the best. If you want to go on more, go on more. And so the way of takbir is, and there's different ways that came from the Prophet and Sahaba, and the one that I prefer being a Hanbali is Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd. So we say that's restricted, meaning it's the unrestricted is you say it any time in the street, starting from the beginning of the first day of the Hijjah till the day of Eid. Anytime, anywhere you go, you're just doing takbir with yourself. But the restricted one is specifically you do both, right? So the restricted one is specifically after the communal prayers. Yeah.
So just my question is for Sheikh Mohammad, specifically about Quran. So sometimes when we're doing da'wah, we sometimes get people who speak about modern interpretations of the Quran, or when we're speaking about the Quran, they'll say that, well, maybe that's your interpretation of the verse, and there's modern interpretations to talk about this specific issue. So can we just, maybe can he speak about that? Can there be such a thing as modern interpretations and older interpretations? And us as Muslims, should we be restricted to the classical tafsir of the Quran to inshallah keep us and our religion safe?
Before I mention that, Brother Muaz sent me this flyer for you, helping a non-profit organization called Helping Hand, and they send the Qurbani or the Udhiyah to poor countries, Muslim countries, and here are the prices. They're actually very cheap. So we have to send it to a goat in Afghanistan, 225, Bangladesh, 165, India, 165, Indonesia, 170, like Kenya's 130. And so actually it's much cheaper than 300 if you send it to other countries. So that's very reasonable. And if you want to share with a big animal, a goat, a camel or a cow, there's like $75 if you want to go in with 7 people. And is that the cheapest, 75?
But I mean, that's very cheap. يعني مش exactly okay for sending that. I mean, if you want to, I'm sure Muaz can send it to MSA or something. Anyway, السؤال هل في حاجة اسمها تفسير معاصر وهل نستغني عن ده ونترك تفسير السلف كده؟
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. طبعا أخي محمود هذا السؤال يعني سؤال طويل وعميق جدا ويحتاج يعني إلى وقت طويل في الكلام، لكن يعني لعلنا نختصر فنقول أنه القرآن أنزل بلسان عربي مبين، ولذلك لا يجوز لنا أن نفهم أي لفظة في القرآن بغير ما تقتضيه اللغة العربية. لا يجوز لنا أن نفهم أي لفظة في القرآن بغير ما تقتضيه اللغة العربية. نحن نريد أن نقول هذا الكلام حتى ننطلق فيما هو بعد ذلك في التفسير. القرآن صالح لكل زمان ومكان، القرآن صالح لكل زمان ومكان، وبالتالي القرآن الذي أنزل على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من 1400 عام هو يعالج المشكلات التي نحياها اليوم، هو يعالج المشكلات والأزمات التي نحياها اليوم. كثير من الناس لا يدرك هذا لأنه لا يقرأ القرآن بشكل صحيح، هو ينظر في القرآن ويفهمه بنظرة سطحية، لكن احنا لو فهمنا القرآن كما تقول بفهم معاصر نستطيع أن نجد في كتاب الله سبحانه وتعالى حلولا لكثير من المشكلات التي نعاني منها اليوم. لكن الأزمة هو أن نفهم القرآن من أجل أن نحل مشكلات اليوم، أن نفهم القرآن بغير ما تقتضيه اللغة. دعنا نضرب مثالا في قوله تعالى: ألم ترى كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل. بعض المتأخرين فسر الطير الأبابيل هنا بأنها جراثيم، قال لا يعني أرسل الله جل وعلا على فيلتهم جراثيم دخلت فيهم فقتلتهم. هل هذا الكلام هو يقول هذا تفسير معاصر لأنه يقول نحن نفهم القرآن الآن بما يتناسب مع عصرنا؟ هل هذا الكلام الآن لغة العرب تقتضي هذا؟ هل ممكن العرب تفهم من كلمة طيرا أبابيل معنى الجراثيم؟ لا، هذا خلاف اللغة العربية. واضح؟ إذا كان التفسير المعاصر هذا الشيء نحن ندعو إليه، نحن ندعو أن ننزل القرآن على واقعنا حتى ونجد فيه المشكلات، لكن لا يعني هذا أننا نفهم القرآن بغير ما يوافق اللغة العربية. واضح؟ لذلك التفسير المعاصر هو تنزيل للقرآن على الواقع الذي نعيشه، فلذلك لا يجوز لنا أن نهمل التفسيرات السابقة، لا يجوز أن نهملها أو نرميها، لكن هي موجودة، ولكن حلول المشكلات التي نحياها اليوم موجودة في القرآن إذا فهمنا العبارات بشكل أوسع. بمعنى إذا تكلم القرآن عن بني إسرائيل وقال لهم أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض، هل هذا الكلام موجه لبني إسرائيل فقط أم موجه لنا أيضا؟ لا ينبغي أن نقرأ القرآن بسطحية. إذا تكلم القرآن عن بني إسرائيل خلاص هؤلاء بني إسرائيل لا علاقة لنا بالموضوع، لا، وكل شيء نقله الله جل وعلا لنا عن بني إسرائيل أو عن غيره من الأمم أراد الله جل وعلا أن نتعلم منه حكمة تحل لنا مشكلات موجودة اليوم في عصرنا. هذا يعني اختصار للكلام وعلى كل شيء.
So the question is like, is there something called a modern tafsir? Like, can we just forget about the classical tafsirs, the exegesis of the Quran, commentaries of the Quran, and interpret the Quran in our own way in a modern period? So the Shaykh, he said, Hafidhullah, that there are certain principles and it's a science to interpreting the Quran, and from them it has to agree with the Arabic language and in the language that it was revealed in, and so on and so forth. So when you mean by modern tafsir, if you mean by it that we look to the Quran for answers for our modern problems, then yes, that's fine. Obviously, we can find solutions for our problems in the modern period through guidance through the meanings of the Quran. That's a correct meaning of that question. The incorrect way is to reinterpret the Quran in ways that goes against the Arabic language and goes against the classical principles of the science of tafsir. Like for example, in Surah Al-Fil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He sent against them tayran ababil, a flock of birds. And so some people, that's what it means in the Arabic language. That's what classical Arabic means. Tayran ababil, it means a flock of birds. Some people, modern period today, they interpret it as bacteria. So they said Allah sent against the enemy bacteria that killed them. They said, no, that's incorrect. That's not in accordance to the classical Arabic language and the science of tafsir. So if what you mean by modern tafsir is that we look to the Quran to solve our modern problems, then of course that's what we should do. But if you're trying to reinterpret the Quran in new ways that didn't exist according to the science that the scholars place to interpret the Quran, then that's not allowed. Yes. Yes.
Assalamualaikum. Is there any specific logic or divine wisdom behind kind of the order of the surahs? And if so, could you kind of expand on that?
هل ترتيب الصور توقيفية أو اجتهادية؟
ترتيب السور على القول الراجح لأقوال أهل العلم أنه اجتهادي من الصحابة حصل في جمع القرآن في عهد عثمان رضي الله عنه. القرآن جمع مرتين، مرة في عهد أبي بكر رضي الله تعالى عنه، مرة في عهد عثمان. ترتيب الآيات داخل السورة الواحدة هذا توقيفي من الله جل وعلا ومن رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم، كما في الحديث كان إذا نزلت عليه الآية قال ضعوا هذه في السورة التي يذكر فيها كذا وكذا. أما ترتيب السور فالصحيح أنه حصل في عهد الصحابة واجتهاد منهم رضي الله عنهم وليس توقيفي.
The question is there a divine wisdom behind the order of the chapters of the Quran, the surahs in the Quran? So the Shaykh said that there's two opinions on this matter. Some said that it's divine revelation of the order of the surahs, and some said, and this is the opinion he believes to be, this is the opinion that Shaykh thinks is most correct, is that it was ijtihad of the Sahaba. The Sahaba, with the surahs themselves, the order was placed by the Sahaba. However, the order of the verses within each individual surah, that's from Allah. There's no difference about that. As for the entire, because the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, when a verse would come, he would say, put this verse behind this verse and that verse. He placed the order himself according to divine revelation of the verses. As for the entire surahs, which comes first, which comes last, there's two opinions. Some said it's also divine revelation, the order, and some says no, the Sahaba chose the order, and this is the opinion he believes to be most correct. Yeah.
So when we're doing like da'wah and we're speaking with someone, for example, like a Christian man or woman, whatever, and when it comes to, because this is a pretty big topic that does come up, is when they compare the Bible with the Quran, and so how do we, or what are some proofs that we could give to show the preservation of the Quran versus the Bible throughout the years? What are some types of things that we can...
الفرق بين القرآن والإنجيل في الحفظ القرآن.
طبعا يعني نحن المسلمون نعتقد أن القرآن الكريم الذي بين أيدينا محفوظ بحفظ الله تعالى من يوم أن نزل على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى يومنا هذا. لو كان معنا يعني لابتوب والأجهزة كنا وريناكم بعض الصور لأقدم المخطوطات التي عثر عليها، مخطوطات القرآن الكريم. كل مخطوطة يعثر عليها للقرآن تجد أنها نفس النص الذي وصلنا اليوم، الذي موجود بين أيدينا اليوم هو نفس نص القرآن الذي المخطوطات التي يعثر عليه من آلاف أو من 1000 سنة وأكثر، من 1300 سنة تقريبا. كل كتب التفسير التي أيضا كتب التفسير قديمة جدا قبل 1300 سنة 1200 سنة، العلماء الذين فيها يفسرون القرآن يفسرون نفس النص الموجود بين أيدينا اليوم. لا تجد عالما يفسر قرآنا فيه كلمة أو حرف آخر زائد عن المصحف الموجود بين أيدينا اليوم. كل كتب الفقه وكتب الحديث وكتب اللغة المؤلفة قبل 1200 سنة أيضا و1100 سنة كلها إذا استشهدوا بآيات من كتاب الله سبحانه وتعالى تجد نفس النص الموجود بين أيدينا اليوم هو نفس النص الموجود في كل هذه الكتب. ولذلك لا يوجد أحد يقول يعني حتى من غير المسلمين يعني يقول أن القرآن حرف. هذه مسألة قطعية يعني منتهية، أن القرآن بحمد الله تعالى محفوظ نصه. يتناقشون بعد ذلك في كونه من عند الله أو ليس من عند الله، هذه قضية يعني نتناقش فيها مع غير المسلمين، لكن كونه محفوظا هذا القرآن هو الذي أنزل على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، هذه قضية قطعية لا نقاش فيها. فهذا كله أدلة يعني أدلة تاريخية من خلال المخطوطات ومن خلال المصاحف والكتب القديمة التي نعثر عليها اليوم، وإلى ما زلنا يعني كل وقت يعني تأتي مخطوطات جديدة. آخرها طبعا كان في 4 ورقات عثر عليها من آخر سورة مريم وبداية سورة طه في جامعة برمنغهام في بريطانيا. نفس النص تماما هو الموجود بين أيدينا اليوم هو الذي عثر عليه، وذكروا هم يقولون يعني أن هذه من أقدم مخطوطات القرآن الكريم، والله تعالى أعلم.
So the question is, how do we prove to people that the Quran has been preserved? He said we can prove it through various means. From them is from a perspective of manuscripts. If you go back to the oldest manuscripts, it shows that the Quran has not changed a single letter throughout time. And all the time, new manuscripts are being found to prove this over and over. He said even non-Muslims, they are in agreement now after science from a Western historical perspective that the Quran has not been changed. Whether they believe in it or not, that's another issue. But from a authenticity perspective, even non-Muslim scholars, they are in agreement that the Quran has been preserved. Obviously, that's in addition to the oral tradition that we have, generation after generation passing it down with the sanad, the chain, right, the connected chain back to the Prophet ﷺ. Everyone reciting the same way, no one changing it or moving a single letter for here or there. So there's no doubt that the Quran has been preserved. Any other questions?
So we all heard of the many rewards, and we've all been encouraged to read the Quran, read from the Mus'haf during the month of Ramadan. But are there any specific reward or anything mentioned in our deen of reciting the book during these 10 days? Like, for example, we've been all encouraged to at least complete one khatam during the month of Ramadan. So should we also try to do the same thing during these 10 days?
There's no hadith that I'm aware of that talks about specific recitation in these days, but it's included in the general text that says all good deeds are virtuous in these days. Yes?
In the hadith, it's mentioned that the Quran was revealed in 7 huruf. How much of those are preserved after Uthman radiallahu anhu, he chose one of them for Quraysh?
That's a huge I'm just laughing because I know it's impossible to answer that question when بيقول لك يعني الأحرف السبعة كم حرف محفوظ في مصحف عثمان.
كان عندنا دورة طبعا طويلة 10 أيام كاملة تكلمنا في هذه المسألة بشيء من التفصيل، ولكن الخلاصة أن هذه المسألة أيضا يعني اختلف العلماء فيها، هل مصحف عثمان احتوى على الأحرف السبعة أم على حرف واحد؟ لأن الصحابة في عهد عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنهم جمعوا القرآن وكتبوه مرة أخرى. فيعني الرأي يعني الراجح في المسألة أن الصحابة رضوان الله عليهم كتبوا القرآن في عهد عثمان على حرف قريش، وهو الحرف الذي نزلت عليه العرضة الأخيرة، لأن كما في الحديث أن جبريل عليه السلام كان يعارض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالقرآن في كل عام مرة، في رمضان، فلما كان العام الذي قبض فيه عارضه بالقرآن مرتين، فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: وما أراه إلا قد دنا أجلي. يعني علم صلى الله عليه وسلم أن لما جبريل عارضه بالقرآن مرتين أنه اقترب موته صلى الله عليه وسلم، أن هذه العارضتين هي تأكيد للقرآن. ما جاء في هذين العرضتين هو القرآن الذي استقر الأمر عليه، يعني القرآن معروف أن فيه نسخ كان فيه زيادة في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. القرآن الذي عارض به جبريل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في العرضتين الأخيرتين قبل وفاته في عامه الأخير هما الذين تضمنهم مصحف عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه. واضح؟ هم الذين تضمنهم مصحف عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنهم. فإذا مصحف عثمان كتب على حرف قريش، وما احتمله خطه من الأحرف الباقية انتقل لنا اليوم، فلذلك نقول مصحف عثمان فيه بعض الأحرف السبع. فيه هذه الإجابة النهائية أن مصحف عثمان رضي الله عنه فيه بعض الأحرف السبع، ليست الأحرف السبعة كلها وليس حرف واحد فقط، وإنما بعض الأحرف السبعة. طبعا المسألة نعرف أنها يعني لم نوفيها حقها، تحتاج إلى مزيد من التفصيل، لكن هذه الإجابة المختصرة.
So just actually before we came here, we had a class with Sheikh Mohammad, 10 days just on this topic, advanced Quran class. And he said there's many opinions, but quickly try to summarize that. He says, I'll just give you one opinion just that you can take, that the Quran we have now is on the harf of the Qurayshi dialect, the harf of the people of Quraysh, and this is the version, this is the harf that Jibreel reviewed the Quran with the Prophet ﷺ twice in the last year of his life. And we know that, so now this Quran has the harf of the Uthmani Quran, the Uthmani manuscript has the harf of the Quraysh, and it also has parts of the other ahruf, so other dialects. So 7, you can, if we want to take it this opinion, we can say that it's in the dialect of Quraysh, and it includes parts of the other dialects, but not all the other 6 dialects. Yeah.
They found some manuscripts in the Masjid in Sana'a in Yemen. Were they written in other dialects? Because I think some of them might have been before the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu.
المخطوطات وجدت في صنعاء ولكن في خلاف مع مصحف عثمان في هذا النظام.
لا توجد. أنا لا أعرفه. طبعا في مصحف واحد وجد في مصحف في سمرقند، وجدوا فيه بعض الخلافات، وهذا المصحف طبعا الذي استخرجه هو مستشرق روسي، ولذلك خبراء المخطوطات يقولون أنه، وهذا واضح جدا، يعني احنا لو كنا نعلم كنا جئنا الصور، أن في فرق. خبير المخطوطات يعرف الفرق بين المخطوط الأصلي وبين الزيادات التي كتبت بعد ذلك في المخطوط، بمعنى أستطيع أن أتي بأي مخطوط قديم وأضيف فيه بقلم بعض الأشياء. فخبراء المخطوطات هم الذين يعرفون مثل هذا، أن هذه الحروف قد زيدت وليست حقيقية، ليست في المخطوط الأصلي، ليست بنفس القلم الذي كتب به المخطوط الأصلي. ولذلك ما هو الفرق بين تحريف النسخ وتحريف الكتاب وبين تحريف النسخ؟ هذه لو قلنا أن في مخطوط واحد جاء حرف زائد عن المصحف الموجود بين أيدينا، هل وافقه مخطوط آخر من كل مخطوطات القرآن على نفس هذا الخطأ؟ أبدا، لا يوجد أبدا. بمعنى إذا جاء مخطوط من هذه المخطوطات الكثيرة وكان فيه حرف واحد زائد، لا تجد أن مخطوطا آخر يوافقه في هذا الخطأ. فهذا دليل على أن هذا إما أن يكون خطأ من الناسخ، لأن أكيد الناسخ بشر، الناسخ الذي ينسخ مخطوطه بشر، وإما أن يكون قد زاده بعض المحدثين بعد ذلك. لكن لا يمكن أن تجد مخطوطتين للقرآن يتفقان في خطأ واحد. واضح؟ فهذا الفرق بين ما يسمى بتحريف الكتاب وبين تحريف النسخ. ولذلك نحن كيف نعرف إذا كنا في مخطوط لكتاب، أي كتاب من الكتب، كيف نعرف هل هذا الخطأ من المؤلف أم من الناسخ؟ نعرف عن طريق نفس هذه الطريقة. نجد الخطأ الذي في المخطوط هل تتفق عليه باقي المخطوطات؟ فإذا اتفقت عليه علمنا أنه خطأ المؤلف وليس خطأ الناسخ. وإذا انفرد به ناسخ أو مخطوط واحد علمنا أنه خطأ الناسخ وليس خطأ المؤلف.
So he's saying he believes the one you're speaking about was found by a Russian Orientalist, and he was saying that manuscript experts can tell whether the original manuscript was the one that had the mistakes or it was added later on in a later period. And he said if you find any manuscript that has a letter increase in a letter, you find that all the other manuscripts from that time or that area do not have it, which is an indication that this was an error from a scribe or was added later on for whatever reason someone tried to change it or whatever. But he said that this is definitely not something that you can find in a consistent pattern, because if one person made a mistake, he misspelled a word while writing the Quran, then you'll find that all the other manuscripts from that time in that same era did not have that mistake, which is an indication that it's that person's mistake and not that the Quran was changed. And you'll find that that mistake is rejected by everyone at any time. Or it was added later on, and experts in manuscript analysis can tell you what the original manuscript was and what was added later on for whatever theological or political purpose. Yeah.
I know that a few brothers like here in Davis, they were thinking of applying for the Islamic University of Medina, or just going abroad in general to study Islam, so get like a 4-year degree. So like you, mashallah, coming from the University of Medina, can you possibly just tell us about like that experience and how is it like once you were a student there, and maybe any advice you would give to those brothers, and maybe if there's any challenges or any such things, inshallah.
How about before that question, we take anything? How about take any other question related to like acting here, right? I'm just thinking, if there's anything else that's more relevant, then we can answer that, no problem. And does anyone have any other question about us and Davis? No? Okay. Then just take this last question then. That يقول لك تجربتك في الجامعة الإسلامية في المدينة عاملة إيه؟ هل لك نصيحة لمن يريد كثير يعني في ناس كثير عايزة تروح تدرس هناك يعني ايه تجربتك وهل لك نصيحة؟
أنا كنت مقيم في المدينة قبل الالتحاق بالجامعة، يعني من الصف الأول الثانوي. كنت يعني شابا ملتزما، لكن لم أكن أعرف ما هو طلب العلم أو كذا. مع الوقت بدأت أني أحب يعني طلب العلم وأقرأ في بعض الكتب. بعد ذلك علمنا أن هناك جامعة متخصصة في تدريس العلوم الشرعية، فأنا وجدت أني أحب هذا المجال وأحب أن أسير فيه. وأنا والدي طبعا طبيب، ولذلك في العادة أن يعني أمي كانت تريدني أن أكون طبيبا مثل والدي، لكن أنا ما أحببت هذا المجال. ووالدي جزاه الله خيرا كان هو الذي دفعني أني أكمل في العلم الشرعي، لأن طلب العلم الشرعي النصوص في الترغيب فيه كثيرة جدا. يعني يكفيك أن تعلم في قوله تعالى: ومن يطع الله والرسول فأولئك مع الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. قال بعض أهل العلم: الصديقون هم العلماء العاملون، يعني مرتبتهم بعد مرتبة الأنبياء وقبل مرتبة الشهداء. فلذلك الجامعة الإسلامية طبعا هي تفرغك تماما من أجل العلم الشرعي. عندما يكون تخصصك في الكلية هو في العلم الشرعي ودراسة الفقه والحديث والتفسير، بلا شك أن الوقت يكون واسع في دراسة هذه العلوم. فالحمد لله كانت تجربة يعني ماتعة وتجربة رائعة. لا شك أن هناك عيوب، خاصة من إخواننا يعني اللي يعيشون يعني في بلاد أمريكا وبلاد أوروبا. يعني تعرفون إحنا العرب يعني نوعا ما شوية معاملتنا مش تمام يعني. فأحيانا لما يأتي إلى البلاد العربية يعني يجد يعني معاملة غير يعني التي كان يظنها يعني. فده يعني أحيانا بيعمل نوع من المشاكل. نسأل الله أن يردنا إلى دينه وأخلاق نبيه ردا جميلا. لكن على كل حال أنه التفرغ لطلب العلم طبعا، وخاصة أيضا مع إكمال المسيرة في الماجستير وفي الدكتوراه في دراسة العلم الشرعي والفقه والحديث، بلا شك أنها شيء رائع جدا. لكنها قد تفقدك يعني أشياء من الدنيا، يعني بمعنى أنك قد لا تجد وظيفة طبعا. يعني لست كالمهندس ولست كالطبيب اللي هو له وظيفة معروفة. أنت الآن شيخ دي ما تأكلش عيش، يعني هتشتغل إيه بشيخ دي؟ فالأرزاق على الله. لكن اللي يريد العلم ويريد الدين بلا شك لابد أن يضحي بشيء من الدنيا. ويعني كما جاء في الأثر: من أراد الدنيا فعليه بالقرآن، ومن أراد الآخرة فعليه بالقرآن، ومن أرادهما معا فعليه بالقرآن. الله جل وعلا يرزق من حيث لا تحتسب.
So the question is, what's your experience studying in Islamic University in Medina? Do you have any advice for those who want to go? He said, I was living in Medina before I went to the university. I was a regular person. I didn't know anything about seeking knowledge. But I heard that there was this university specializing in studying the Islamic sciences. And so I decided I wanted to do it. My father was a doctor, and so my mother really wanted me to be a doctor like him. But my dad helped me in convincing my mom to let me go. So I attended, and it's a very good experience. Obviously, anyone who wants to seek knowledge seriously, it's a very good experience. But from a cultural, worldly perspective, especially for us coming from the West, there are always going to be difficulties. Number one, that the way Arabs are kind of stern in their dealings with people, so Westerners aren't always used to lifestyle in Arabia. Another thing also is, from a worldly perspective, if you spend your entire life studying sacred knowledge, you're going to do master's degree, PhD. At the end of the day, you're going to lose a lot of the dunya. So you're not going to be able to work. You're going to be a sheikh. Sheikh, what are you going to do? Like, what kind of employment is a sheikh? You're not a doctor or engineer, right? So he said there's going to be difficulties, no doubt. But whoever who relies on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is sincere in their seeking of knowledge, inshallah Allah will provide for them. Inshallah we'll end here. Jazakallah khair, barakallahu fikum. Any other questions? We'll be here on Saturday. We'll be talking about how to use the different qira'at, the different modes of recitation in tafsir. So please everyone come. Sheikh came from a long way, so we really want to welcome him in the masjid. And we'll end inshallah with the recitation of the Quran. And are those snacks for us too, or just for you guys? All right, okay, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه هو السميع العليم صدق الله العظيم
جزاكم الله خير.